Hello.
Hang on.
That's me. Been that way all day.
Y'all can sit wherever you want, I just was kind of throwing them.
Oh, she has it in a file. She has it organized.
Hang on.
Well, I'm just making sure I got everybody's names straight. Alright. Do we think Karen is here?
Hang on, sorry. There's two. There you are. Let's see, do I have anybody else? Jody?
Let me make sure I've got everybody in the front. Sorry. I sure don't. There we go.
It says on here, if there's history. All, it says on here, all of them. Well, that was just a question. All the council, that's misleading. Oh, because they don't have, not all of them have townships in this area. So you only want District 3 and 4?
I have Posey Township,
What
which
you have posted, yes. But the other two
is District 2.
don't have. One doesn't have any here. Okay, one, that's the only one they have done.
One basically said the same thing, just I think that you use that.
Okay. So we're good to go?
Yeah.
So is it okay if, with y'all, since I am not from Washington County, if you guys can just introduce yourself and share which district you are running for as well? That way that'll kind of help us as well, since there was a little confusion this morning, so. Yeah, but we'll go ahead and start down at the end with Ms. Pittman, please.
I'm Teresa Pittman. I am running for District Number 2 County Council, which includes Posey Township. I'll have Southwestern Washington Township, Pierce Township, and Jackson Township and Posey.
And I'm Frank Nobles. I am running for District 4, which includes Gibson, Franklin, Polk, and Washington 4.
David Moore, District 3, represent, I guess we picked up Howard in that from the redistricting, Vernon, Brown, Jefferson is still in there. They've kind of segregated Gallup out part of Washington, and I'm sure Rhonda will correct me if I missed somehow. And anyway, Ford running for re-election.
Well, I'm Rhonda Green. If you see me on the ballot, I'm in your district, okay? District 3. And that's easier to deal with.
Excellent. Well, thank you. That just helps me keep my bearings straight here tonight. We'll start with our first question. We'll go ahead and start down at the end of the table with Ms. Pittman and just work our way down. What are the benefits versus drawbacks over housing inmates from the state?
Some of the benefits would probably be increased revenue for the county, because the county, when they have other inmates come, they get more money from, and hopefully our citizens will behave themselves and won't have to be arrested, so we'll have a lot more room for revenue coming in. But that is the main reason I could see would be to keep our inmates here in county, so we don't have to spend any more if we do have overcrowding, which we do have now. I understand, I've taken the tour of the jail and I've seen it. I know I wouldn't want to be there, but the rooms are small, and I understand they are very overcrowded. When some of them have 4, they are putting 6 people in there or so. So it'd be nice if we could expand, give them a little bit more room too. Thank you.
I think the benefits, obviously, is revenue that could be generated by housing inmates from other counties. I think right now, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think right now it's like $35 a day that the county collects for each inmate. Roy, is that correct still?
That's the bottom on state.
Bottom on the state. On the adverse side of that, when you're housing people from other counties, state or other counties, you're not going to get their sweethearts. You're going to get your problem children. So you're increasing some of the dangers within the facility itself, I think. You're putting your staff at risk because you don't always know what you're getting. Washington County typically doesn't have a house full of murderers or rapists, but that's what you're gonna get from other places. The state's gonna send you their problem children because they wanna get rid of them just like we wanna get rid of ours.
Well, the current jail wasn't built just on a whim. It was put on, it was kind of put back from 2004. We were been dealing with an overcrowding issue and ended up with a federal lawsuit that was pending. It was going to force us into expanding the jail. In the process of expanding the jail, we thought 54 beds at the time when we built the first jail was enough, but it wasn't adequate. We built a jail in there for future, and that, not that we want to fill it with citizens of the county, but judicial problems are an issue in the county and seem to keep growing. But we're housing about an average of 94 inmates in there in a 54-bed facility. If we can utilize the extra space that we've anticipated for the future, to bring a DOC and bring extra revenue, and then that's just a plus for us. But we're also taking an issue as far as putting enough funding in there to do the jail, and that your low-end tax as far as I'll address that later.
I have a problem with making the jail a money-making facility. I'm not saying that, we can't take other inmates in or what have you, but when you consider something that's supposed to be a civil service to our community and turn it into a business-like situation, you kind of come into some real, moral issues and problems. The reason, and one of the main ways that our county has balanced the jail budget is that we were overcrowded, almost 50 inmates. We balanced the jail budget on the backs of these inmates. Their civil rights were taken away, and we made money off of them enough to keep the jail open. When you go down that path, it's dangerous. So, take it with a grain of salt and look at it real close before you go starting to make this a money-making situation for the county.
We'll move on to the next question. We'll start with you, Mr. Nobles, if you'll be so kind as to answer. I'm going to combine two questions here, so hopefully that won't make things too complicated. But can you speak to what you have been doing to prepare yourself for this office, and also speak to any experience you have with preparing budgets?
What I've been doing to prepare myself for this office is basically, I ran for the at-large position 2 years ago. And I did a lot of research, going to county meetings, going to online and listening to what the county had to say in their meetings. But I think basically what I've done in the past 2 years is listen to the people. What the people are concerned with that's going on in the county or not going on in the county, whichever the case may be. How we're spending our money, where we're spending our money, what we're spending our money for. As far as my experience with budgets, I managed the National Guard Armory in Salem for 15 years. Managing that armory is a twofold job. I was a National Guardsman of the state of Indiana, the only full-time person in the building, so I had to take care of the budgets. I had to live within our means. Basically, as far as budgets, we all have budgets at home. So you gotta, how much money you got coming in, how much money you got to spend during the month. So we live within that, with our means. If there's no extra, we just don't have any extra.
Okay. Don Villwall, 8 years ago, asked me to be on a local government and tax reform for Indiana Farm Bureau. Got involved with a 16-member board in there, commissioners, council members, auditors, trustees in there, county government, and started seeing where property tax, local government reform and property tax reform, and dealing with the issues legislatively. Got me involved in that. I started attending regular meetings about 2 years before I was elected, and seeing what the budget process become very entailed with that, and kind of took some of the knowledge that I was hearing from Indiana Farm Bureau and trying to relay it to the current council members in there. Plus, I manage a large hog and crop farm here in Washington County around the school and that, so I have to deal with budgets every day.
Ms. Green?
I've been doing Indiana Proud and videotaping and recording the meetings for 7 years. Sure, I can forget a cord for the camera and have my son bring it in, but I'm pretty sharp on what's been going on, and I can see the trends within the council itself and the local government. And we're looking at some pretty traumatic things. I mean, once again, you know, you can't balance the budget on the backs of inmates. You really shouldn't even consider, you know, this being a moneymaker, the jail being a moneymaker. You can tell when the boards are getting into trouble, they get irritated. They get mean during the meetings. So it's, you know, we're in trouble. That's why I'm here, and that's why I'm running again.
Ms. Pittman?
Okay, I have a bachelor's in science in nursing, so I start off with the nursing degree, but I also I'll run and operate with my father and my husband a family farm, which my father's operated since I was born. I lived about 3 miles south of Salem on a dairy farm, and then in '74 we moved to Shorts Corner, and that's where I live at now, on the family farm. We have, it's small compared to some of the others in this area, but that's all my husband and my dad do. And now that I'm retired, I have done the books for the farm ever since '78. I have been working with, and I didn't graduate too much before then, so I've been working with the farm, as I said, my whole life. I have been going to all the county council meetings since February when I decided to run for county council. This is my first time I've ever even thought about being in politics, because I was happy being a nurse, I was happy working on the farm, I was happy being a mother, grandmother.
Well, this is the last written question I have, and then I do think there are a few questions from the audience that we'll be looking over. But we'll go ahead and start with you, Mr. Hoare.
Okay.
We're working our way down the table here. The council and commissioners have just gotten laptops to use in carrying out their duties. Can you tell us about your technological experience and how this tool would help you be a better council member?
Well, you know, we had an old program that the county council was using when the county was using. It wasn't very user-friendly. And we updated and went to a LOW program that is basically designed for the state, the Indiana, not generic for all throughout the United States that didn't fit our needs. With that, we can use Excel spreadsheets, use trends, take a look at things, and we're using them right now. The county council, we've had discussion, you know, between each other as far as how it's doing. We're looking at different things in there, and it's allowing us to actually use the data there and to actually use it as a tool to make decisions off of. So, and also, I think that we're not only are we putting the cameras up in there, but we're putting the video screen up that whenever the budget comes in, the audience can actually see what the county council is looking at on their papers, which will be interactive with the public so they know what they are. And I'd hate to be sitting in that budget meeting and just me telling you what's on that sheet. You can actually see it.
I've been making my money off the internet for 14 years. I do stained glass. I know technology. I'm not like, you know, a super expert or anything, but I can go ahead and manipulate programs and get what I need out of it. We went through a whole budget session without any mention of technology. And all of a sudden, there it is, almost $20,000 worth of technology. There were no bids taken other than the one that the IT guy brought forward. No real discussion about the equipment, no maybe workarounds, no real knowledge of what it's going to take to run this equipment, to manage it. And it's troublesome when you just go ahead and spend that money as quickly as they did without any background or any information on what equipment they are going to get and have to use.
Ms. Pittman?
I've always laughed with my kids saying I'm computer illiterate, but over the past few years in nursing, we have gone to computerized medicine charting everything. So I have come up in the world with computer, and plus I have my home computer, which my grandkids always make crash, so I always have to get it back up because they kind of laugh at me. And I do have a daughter I call tech support. So, and I think the computer and I've been to the county council meeting and I did see them there with the laptops, and I think it's wonderful. I've always been under the belief that change is growth, change is good, if it's for the good of everybody. I do believe that change is growth, and change, with that we are ready to change and grow. I don't believe we ought to have our heads, back to paper trail, but yet sometimes it's good to have paper there as a background too. And as far as my experience with, that's fine.
Welcome to finish your thought if you want.
No, that's,
You want me to finish it for you?
yeah, you
Go ahead, Brian.
We all, in today's world, we all have home computers. At least, I'd say 95% of people have at least one computer, if not more, in their home. And most of us has got the desktop, and we've got the laptop, and your iPhones, and S phones, and T phones, and smartphones, and dumb phones, and everything in the world. So to ask you what your experience is, it's varied. I know enough about the programs that are on my computer to get through my day every day, and I spend quite a bit of time. My wife is sitting back there. She's probably saying, yeah, he spends too much time on the computer. As to how I feel about it being in the chambers of the council and the commissioners, I think it's an excellent idea. What I'm understanding, and I haven't been there and seen folks, so I'm just taking this from what I've heard talking to some of the other officers in the county. Everything you need to know is on that computer. If there's a dispute about an Indiana code, you're not sure about legalization of something, or if it's illegal, you can go to that thing and pull them up right there in front of you, and everybody's got access to it like right now. You don't have to question or turn to the county attorney and get an answer. You've got it in front of you.
All right, well, this is a question from the audience, and we'll start with you, Ms. Green. What are your views on employee compensation and longevity play in light of the county's tight finances?
Well, I mean, the insurance has been a big thing. Last year, they went ahead with the $5,000 extra a year to go ahead and let people purchase their own. I think one of the main problems that has been with the insurance is, for one, we hadn't been taking bids. And also, everything has been so varied. Everybody was covered to the extreme, and it ballooned out to $15,000 average per employee. When they went to the $5,000 an employee last year, people were able to get the coverage that they wanted, okay? They could go ahead and deal with the Obamacare regulations on their own. And they could also either get insurance or not get insurance. I know that there's a big trauma about, like, not, having to pay a penalty, but, maybe the employees are better off getting that lump sum so they can take care of their families the way they can take care of their families, and then you have a set price. Okay?
We can go back down that way if you like. It's fine with me.
Right.
You want to go ahead?
You want me? Okay. Well, about 4 years ago, we had $1.2 million appropriated, for self-insurance. And we have been working in that. But there were circumstances that was beyond everybody's control with health reasons for some employees. That went from 1.2 to 1.8 million. We couldn't afford that. That wasn't budgeted $600,000. And that happened 2 or 3 years in a row, kept on ballooning to where it was going to bankrupt the county. So we had to make a drastic decision, and not a very nice decision to make as far as sitting on a council when you're dealing with employees that have been putting time in and doing a good job for the county. But we did the $5,000. We didn't offer the insurance, and they went out and got it. There was people that benefited from that and people that didn't. But ultimately, in our last budget, we appropriated $800,000 for insurance. And we're going to put a package together for the employees, and we're looking at about 2.6% increase in wages, and there's no longevity. Only if that budget is accepted by the state, and only then. But we put it together to that realm.
Mr. Nichols?
Would you restate that question?
I'd be happy
I
to.
got off on the insurance, and I think
Yeah,
that helped a little bit.
no,
Sorry,
that's
but
fine,
yeah.
yes. So what are your views on employee compensation and longevity pay in light of the county's tight finances?
The bottom line is, you've got to take care of your people. I know the money's tight. One thing, the compensation, insurance is part of the compensation package, and it goes on, raises. County employees haven't had a raise in, I think, about 5 years, and when they do, it's just a minimal raise. I live on a fixed income. I depend on the federal government to give me my raise every year, and they tighten that up to like 0.5%. Well, 0.5% of nothing is nothing. It'll take a mathematician to figure that out. We need to make some changes, and I think some changes could be made in, not to increase the budget, not to increase taxes, but move the money around some other places. I see some places in the county where I think we're overspending. I see some places in the county where we're underspending, and I think part of that is taking care of our employee. As far as longevity, it goes right along with it. One of the things that was brought up, and I know I'm gonna go over it, Nancy, but one of the things that came up lately was several hundred hours that we had amassed in compensatory time for overtime. It's gonna happen. And one way to handle that is to limit it. Give them, say, okay, you're gonna get 100 hours compensation time and use it by the end of the year, or lose it, but then you've gotta bite the bullet and give them the time off and give them the time to use it. That's all.
I agree with what has been said, and I worked as, I said, a nurse. I was supervisor over 5 units in the hospital at Clark Memorial, and on the weekends, it was just me over the 5 units, no other support there. And I realized real quick, happy employees make your job go a lot easier. If you can keep your employees happy, you have a nice, your day goes smooth. And when you work 12-hour shifts, you take 24 hours in a weekend, so the employees needed to be compensated. They need their longevity. If that's, maybe there's another way that we could do it. Let's look at other avenues that could be taken also to maybe take from one aspect and just reword it or change it to another aspect. I know the hospital has done it. I know it can be done at other locations, and that's about all I can say on that.
Thank you. Well, are there any other questions from the audience? We didn't have any submitted. All right, well, if you guys would please just take a few seconds to summarize anything that you wanted to say but couldn't, or just we'll allow you some closing remarks, and we'll, since we've made it through the table, we'll just go ahead and start with Ms. Pittman and work our way down.
Okay, as I said before, my name is Teresa Pittman. I am running for County Council District 2. I've lived in Washington County. I've been a nurse since 1979, and I retired about 2 years ago. Work on the family farm. I would like to be the Posey Township County Council. I would like to represent them. I feel like I could do a good job for the County Council with budget and with sitting there and listening to other people coming in with their concerns for money. I'm a good listener. I'm not always one to sit up and talk. I listen more than I talk. So if I sound a little tongue-tied now, that's because I'm so used to just listening. I'd rather listen to your problems and then think about them and then transpose it to what you feel like, what I feel like what you're saying back to me.
I feel like I would make a good county councilman because I'm a listener also. But I managed the National Guard Army in Salem for about 14 and a half years, from the time it was built new until I retired 14 and a half years after they constructed the thing. I had 26 years of military service. Part of that time was spent in the Republic of Vietnam, and there was times there when as a leader you had to make tough decisions and you had to make timely decisions and you had to stand by, good, bad, or indifferent, you had to stand by your decision. And I think that's where we are now. The county's in tough times. We need to be able to make tough decisions. We need to make quick decisions while keeping the county and people in the county in mind. And I'm probably the only person at this table that can admit that I could work with David Hoare.
I don't know how to take that, Frank.
Any way you want.
Hopefully you won't have to. Yes, I am mean. Yeah. Did I say that?
I'm gonna stay over with this side, please.
Yeah.
I want to finish up with the lower tax on public safety. We've been criticized by just raising taxes, but in that same process, we actually lowered property taxes in the same amount that we raised in a lower tax. And so we lowered the property tax. I have had the benefit it's been a pleasure to work with the present council right now with diverse backgrounds, diverse politics. It doesn't matter if they're Republican, Democrat, or Libertarian, I don't care. Because they're all there for the same thing, to do the betterment of the county. And they work diligently to do that. County government budgeting is complicated. You have restrictions of where you can have the money come in and where you can spend it. And it is a daunting task at times. And it wears on you too a little bit. But I'm a seventh generation on the family farm. My dad instilled to me, he was a councilman in the late 50s and early 60s. And he instilled into me to get back to the community that's been good to us. And so that's what I want to do.
My mom always said, if you can do something for the community, you better be at it. And I've been at it for a while. Having watched the council and the commissioners for years, a lot of times they didn't function the way they were supposed to. The council would not really set the budget, and they would kind of float over into the commissioners' stuff, and you'd have all this kind of thing going on, and, you know, really, nothing's ever perfect, but it can function a lot better than it has. And a lot of the budget problems we've had are really related to that. They're not functioning the way it should. The council should set the budget, and then the commissioners have the opportunity to go ahead and spend it effectively. I'd like to see that corrected. I'd like to see us protected in all our civil rights, and please, I need your vote.
Thank you. Well, let's give these candidates.
Frank? Sir?
Yeah, we're heading somewhere. All right, thank you. Oh, you too.